Oh, okay. No. What are we doing?
What are we doing? What are we doing? What's going on? What's going on in the background?
So we are in basically text country now. ASCII country. Basic. We are very, very basic. Basic
very
country.
basic.
Very basic. And what we are doing today is we are gonna do MDA. So that is mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics analysis of a particularly old game that is not running in the background right now, because this is something else that is very cool, but it is
but then it's running in the background.
And it is running in the background.
And I don't think it will stop anytime soon.
No, I don't think so either. I just got a notification that these cool people are online on Twitch. I'm actually going to watch them right now.
All right.
Because, what else do I got to do on a Friday afternoon? Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. We are streaming, I think. It's Value Live.
We are
that's me, man, and there's all sorts of weird things happening in the background. Who am I, though?
Who are you? I will introduce you in a different way.
Okay.
Today, specifically for today.
Okay.
But also in general, this guy is the digital humanist. Angus Dr. Random Mall.
Yes, exactly.
A digital humanist by trade.
But I'd like to refer to myself as a human digitalist, though.
A human digitalist.
I am a human digitalist.
You are a human. You're also
about digital things. Yes, for sure. Yes. And that's important. Why today?
Because it is particularly important today because we are gonna talk a lot about digital stuff in a different way than usual. And in the meantime,
you are. I'm also gonna introduce you in a different way. You are Aris, I guess, purveyor and connoisseur of everything that in Leiden referred to as the ancient Near East, which is a very awkward term that we can also talk about, but whatever. And that's you, Aris Ymir Polytopoulos. And for you, it's also going to be a very important stream because we are going back as deep as we can in the past.
Deep in
the past as we can.
Yes.
So what are we doing then?
So we are playing Hamurabi.
Or also known as Hamurabi.
The Sumer game.
Exactly. And through all sorts of different things. So, I think, let me actually, so this will be a bit different than we normally do. For us, by the way, we're like giddy like schoolgirls. Yeah. There will be multiple, there's 2 schoolgirls right here, but there will be more schoolgirls actually featuring in this particular stream. In a non-Japanese way, just to put it out there.
Yeah.
Because we're actually going to have a bit of play and then also a lot of us talking about. Basically, we're just going to give you a class on the Friday afternoon.
Yeah, or if you see 2 hours, it's a class.
Yes, it's a class.
It's not a stream. If you tune in for a stream, get out.
Get out. We're not gonna play a fun game, or actually we are.
But it only takes about 10 minutes.
Yes, for sure. And so that's really what it is. It's a class. If you're here as future people on YouTube, you get to fast forward to the good bits. I will tell you the good bits are all in the beginning, or maybe they're at the end. It depends on
what you want to be doing.
All right, let me actually get a bit more serious because now we're in class. I see that my font boy is just a little bit transparent. This is yellow. This is yellow OBS filter. This is not. I kind of like it though. Like font boy has this very cool, very nice. All right. It's always a surprise, right? When you're streaming, like, is this color actually green or is it actually not? So apparently yellow is green. Who would have thunk? The more we learn. All right.
Do it.
So let me actually get to the part here right now where we get to talk about content. So, interestingly, if you want to download, there's this freaking PDF that we're using as the basis for our talking points.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get that, you go to interactivepass.com right now. You will see...
over there? No, the other way. I'm pointing at it.
You're pointing at it. Yes. No, there. So, and you can actually download this PDF. Yep. And there's all the materials are basically in there. But we're also going to take you through it.
Yeah.
So the very first part that I just wanted to briefly explain, I'm scrolling in the wrong screen, wanted to briefly explain to you. Let me actually check for a tiny moment while you say some stuff. See if we're actually
saying stuff.
Actually online. I think we are, right?
Yeah.
That's good. And we actually can...
Will it be on the test? Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. Everything is on the test.
Oh, we're super loud and
we're clear?
Yeah, very clear, so no worries.
Also, we have no background sound this time, so it's not
so it's only our lovely voices.
Yes.
Lucky you. So, I just love this quote. A great deal could be learned about the human thought process if one could simulate it on a computer. I love this quote because I think actually it's also the reverse.
Yeah.
A great deal can be learned from the human thought process by analyzing how it is taking shape. Yeah, exactly. Taking shape by a computer.
Mm-hmm.
This quote is from David Ahl, who is the writer of this book, Basic Computer Games, which is also yellow on it, which is also why it's see-through right over here. See-through. But the cover will also pop down in the PDF later.
Yes.
And it's a good quote. It's a good quote because particularly what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing MDA. MDA is a framework. A formal approach to game design and game research, thought up by Robin Haneke, Mark LeBlanc, and Robert Zupek. Haneke is familiar to some of you maybe from being one of the developers on Journey, and also lots of other cool games. And basically the framework is that there's two ways of analyzing not two ways. There's actually three lenses of analyzing what goes on in a game. The mechanics, which you can understand as the rules, what happens actually while play is going on, the dynamics, the system of it, and then the aesthetics of games, the actually experiences or the things that people want to experience in a game. So, of course, for most game developers, that's fun.
Yeah.
You know me, I've been talking about this thing for quite a while now. I think it's interesting to also see if we can do MDA of something else than fun. So instead of doing MDA fun, doing MDA the past.
Yes.
And
the aesthetics of
the past. So we're going to do that by playing a game. You're going to tell me this game will be Hamurabi. You're going to tell me about your aesthetics of the past before playing this game as well as during the dynamics of it. And we're going to just see how that takes us. And then we're going to flip back. We're actually going to look at it from the designer's point of view. And not that we're designers of this game, but there is some information on the game, or actually plenty of information on how this game has been designed.
Yeah. But also the aesthetics is also part of the design. So,
well, this is already where I think it gets interesting with this whole thing. So it's like the designer looks from this side in, and the player looks from that side in.
Yeah.
But of course, these things to me because almost everything bites itself in its own ass. Everything is in Ouroboros, right?
Yeah.
So it should not be on a T-shirt. Everything bites itself in its own ass. Anyway, doesn't matter. There's basically, of course, the fact that aesthetics will also bleed into mechanics and vice versa, of course. So it's an interesting model. I'm not saying it's like the one model that we need to use, but I've always wanted to use it for a little bit of it. Anyway, that's that. I think other important sort of thing that we're not actually doing, but we're sort of attempting to do here is something called retro game archaeology. Hey, here. There we are, Herr Professor. Oh, you're actually here. You're actually... John Aycock is in our chat right now. Yes, for sure. Herr Professor Doctor.
Yes, of course.
Is in our class. So what we're actually going to be attempting to do is a little bit along the lines of what John Aycock actually refers to as retro game archaeology. So if you want to know more about this...
check out either his book, or he has papers on it,
or two very cool papers at the Interactive Past conference that you can watch on YouTube following this link that you can follow if you go to interactivepast.com. So that's there. Yeah. And you can actually download this PDF and follow all the links.
Yeah.
So what retro game archaeology is really exploring the technical limitations of the hardware as well as the actual code base to yay, there you are. Exactly. To you know what, let's actually see. I think I spelled this correctly. Let's give Herr Professor Doctor a nice shout out. Thank you for joining us, John. And so one thing that we are not super familiar with, because you refer to me as a digital humanist or human digitalist, yes, for sure, but it's very much the human part of me that's still taking. I have no formal training in computer science, and there is a lot of stuff, especially from the hardware stuff, that you need to know when you're doing retro game archaeology for realsies. But we're gonna try and attempt, at least through the code base of it, and with our very limited knowledge of hardware in this period, we're gonna try and make something out of that.
Yes.
So, very important as well. Game history will also feature heavily into this stream, and in particular, I just want to shout out right at the beginning the work of a couple of very important individuals that done a lot of work particularly on this thing called the Sumerian game.
Yeah.
But also tracing its history towards what became Hamurabi. So it's Tobias Winnerling, who's at @T_Winnerling on Twitter.
Yeah.
And has a couple of blogs out on this via the, also very cool, something we didn't mention I think in a previous stream, but the Arbeitskreis Geschichtswissenschaften und digitale Spiele, gespielt, which is this network of German researchers that are actually doing the same thing as, as we are doing. Yes. Yeah. So very cool. If you can speak German or you can hit Google Translate, you can actually read a lot of cool stuff on their web pages. Yeah. Yeah. He did a lot of research and actually was kind enough to share a couple of research papers that he found about the Sumerian game. Devin Monis. I tried to contact him, but didn't get in touch soon enough, I think. So also done a lot of research on particularly the Sumerian game. He's at Desert Hat on Twitter. And he's also one of the people that found a lot of original materials for this game and deposited them in the Strong Museum of Play, which is a place that we just have to visit sometime.
Yes.
Then Kate Willard, also another shout out at Kate Willard, also has a Patreon, I think, very important. I'm gonna support her. I think after the stream, I'm gonna run over there and support her because she's done a lot of very cool research on storytelling and in games and the history of that. And she sort of reached the end of the road when she found the Sumerian game.
Yeah.
And she has a very cool article on this called "The Most Important Game You Never Heard of." So this is important because we're going to use a couple of materials from their research as well during the stream.
Exactly.
Okay, Aris.
Yes.
We are already talking for almost 15 minutes. We haven't played a single game yet.
No.
But can you maybe tell me a little bit about the aesthetics that you're expecting when you're going to play a game about the past, particularly a game that is about the region where you do your PhD in, and also very close, of course, to not very close in time, but close enough in time.
Close enough.
You hear
about 1,000 years.
About 1,000 years, which for archaeologists is close enough.
Yes. So
what is the sort of stuff that you're expecting, and what is the sort of things that you take with you when it comes to playing a game that is about, well, in this case, an ancient Near Eastern quote-unquote city-state?
So I think first of all, it is interesting the two different titles, the Sumerian game and the Hamurabi. I would expect sort of different things for these two different games.
All right. So yes, so Sumerian is different than Hamurabi.
Yes, Sumerian is different than Hamurabi.
Okay, why is that so?
So the Sumerians, here we see a chronology.
A chronology. Archaeologists love them.
I'm gonna acquire the title of the playful archaeologist if you are the digital humanist or the human digitalist. So I have a title as well. So as a playful archaeologist,
yes, for sure.
I have we like to have.
Can you also be an archaeological playist?
I guess an archaeological player.
Can you be an archaeological player? I mean, you are an archaeological player.
I am an So, what is interesting here is that we see this chronology of the various regions of the ancient Near East.
Feel free to zoom in even a bit more because I guess that's going to be...
Yeah. So, when we're talking about the Near East, generally we talk about the area today defined as Iraq, Mesopotamia, Syria, Syro-Palestine, modern Turkey, and a little bit Egypt and Cyprus.
And Anatolia is also Near East? Or?
It's Turkey.
Turkey. Sorry, Turkey, yeah.
So this is what we call the Near East at large.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the Sumerians, we're talking about a particular location in the Near East, which is Mesopotamia. So you need to scroll up.
All right, scroll up. Yes, sorry.
There we go, Mesopotamia. So Mesopotamia is the place where both the Sumerian civilization emerged and where Hammurabi acted as well.
So Hammurabi was whom?
Hammurabi was king of Babylon.
Okay, king of Babylon. So where are we looking at on the timeline over here?
That is the interesting thing. When we're talking about the Sumerians, we are mostly looking at this, what is called the early dynastic period.
Okay, that's right over here, the green
Right
bits.
over here. So even a bit earlier, even before that, so it's not on the timeline in this case, but even before that, we still talk about the Sumerians.
Yeah.
What is interesting is that the Sumerians did not necessarily call themselves Sumerians, and we also don't really know what the Sumerians, like what exactly corresponds to the term Sumerian. There wasn't such a thing as the Sumerian
Empire
or the Sumerian Commonwealth or whatever.
Yeah.
But people outside, so people of like Semitic descent or language background, they would refer to the people living in Mesopotamia with various terms that accumulated to what we call today as Sumeria or the Sumerians.
Right.
Another interesting thing is that the Sumerian language is what we call an isolationist language. So it's a language in isolation.
They were like, make Sumeria great again.
So it's a language where we can't necessarily trace it back in time in relation to other languages.
Cool.
At some point, this language was overtaken or replaced by the Akkadian, which was the dominant language of the later period. We see the Akkadian period.
Right over there, yeah.
But even after that period onwards, and even all the way to the Assyrians, a lot of people still used the Sumerian language as this language of rituals.
Okay.
So they still used it later on.
It became a little bit like Latin.
Exactly, it became a little bit like Latin.
All right.
So this period is what we call in this chronology, what you see is what we are calling the historical chronology. And why is it called the historical chronology? Because it's based on semi-historical accounts, on king lists.
King lists, okay.
So a lot of kings of these city-states in Mesopotamia, they would create king lists to justify their descent or their rule. And on the basis of that, a lot of historians have reconstructed the chronology of the Near East.
Okay.
Of course, these lists, because everybody did whatever they wanted,
yes,
they don't necessarily correspond very well with each other.
In terms of everybody did what they wanted back then.
Yes.
And sometimes also the case with archaeologists today.
So the way that historians have reconstructed this chronology, we actually have three different chronologies. The low, middle, and high chronology. So oftentimes if you read a book, you will see a chronology being denoted, this king ruled in X low chronology.
All right.
With archaeology,
I'm getting the sense then that Hamurabi is on one of these lists.
Hamurabi is on one of these lists, as well. And in archaeological terms, what we will be looking at is what we call the Bronze Age at large.
The Bronze Age at large. So what are we? I see something called the Middle Bronze Age
exactly.
and the Early Bronze Age here.
Exactly.
So that's basically what we're going to be looking at in terms of archaeology. I mean, it's
more or less
this weird.
Of course, not in Anatolia, but in Mesopotamia.
Sorry about that. Let me just,
it's fine.
Control Z that, and I guess so. Where is Mesopotamia the Bronze Age then?
That's the thing. For Mesopotamia here, it shows us the historical chronology, but not the archaeological chronology. And the archaeological chronology basically says that this early dynastic period is what we call the Early Bronze Age, and the Akkadian period and the Ur-3. And then at 2000 BC until the 1600s, we have, so this is the Middle Bronze Age or the Intermediate Bronze Age, depending on what kind of paper you read.
Okay.
Hammurabi, so if we were talking about the Sumerian game, we would be looking at the early dynastic period over here.
Over here. Very early on even.
Yeah, from there all the way until the Akkadian period or the Ur-3 period.
Okay, so this is the Sumerian game.
This is the Sumerian game. If we're talking about Hammurabi, we're looking at this specific, you can see the stele just sitting right there.
The stele.
The stele of Hammurabi, which we will be talking about
right now, if you don't mind.
Later on.
We could actually zoom out a little bit still, and because we have a nice little map over here.
So this is Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia means the land between two rivers. Meson in Greek is middle, and potamos is river. And so Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers. The rivers are being Euphrates right there and Tigris. So this land, basically. This land that you see is what we call southern Mesopotamia. It's
this over here.
And
then over here?
Over here, from Ashur and upwards, is what we call northern Mesopotamia.
Okay.
So we will be focusing at southern Mesopotamia. Southern Mesopotamia is the region where the first cities and states of the world developed. So all these cities that you see are cities that here we are looking at the period of Hammurabi, but a lot of these cities had already existed for over 1,000 years. From the 3000 BC, even 3500 BC, in the case of Uruk, maybe even 4000 BC. So we're looking at 6,000 years into the past even. There are a lot of theories as to what caused the development
of happen here.
Cities. Yeah.
Yes.
but by the time of Hammurabi, cities and states were already established.
Yeah, it was not something. It's not they were still trying out this thing.
They were trying out all sorts of things.
Sure.
And it's the period that they started trying out the concept of empire.
Okay.
So the first real empire comes later with the Assyrians.
No, they didn't start out. They were not messing around with cities anymore. They were like, let's try out empires.
Exactly. They were like, oh, this one city will control several other cities.
Okay.
And they developed a very complicated system of control that Hammurabi eventually took over in what we call the Old Babylonian Empire, or the Old
because
Babylonian
we know from civilization, Hammurabi and Babylon, right?
Yes,
he's present there.
Exactly.
In a couple of which games again, like Civilization 2, I think.
Maybe even 1.
Yes.
I need to check back my list.
Doesn't matter. Civilization leader, yes, for sure. Probably already back from all the way.
Yeah. So Babylon is in the northern part of southern Mesopotamia, if that makes sense to you.
Sure.
And this...
It is also the enemy of all Rastas. That's just throwing that in there.
And it's located in the region that we broadly define as Babylonia, by and large.
Yeah.
And then we have the southern part of southern Mesopotamia. Just to give you a little bit of a historical...
Just a little bit.
A little bit more.
I'm getting from your aesthetics, I'm getting that you know quite a bit about this period and that you think it's quite important as well.
I think... Not necessarily important, but it's fascinating.
Okay.
Because
let's drill in a little bit then, because we're gonna be playing a game.
Yes.
We really are, people. We really are gonna.
We're gonna play a game.
What is fascinating about this period for you? About this past?
So, even though that we already had cities for a long time and states formations for a long time already, it is during that period that we see a lot of experimentation with complicated administration and management.
Okay.
We see basically, it would not be unfair to call this period semi-capitalistic. We have a lot of the use
semi-capitalistic.
Yeah, the use of debt, for example, already exists, and the use of debt is very important for the economies of that time, because a lot of times people would pay with a debt.
Okay.
And this will complicate economic system, partly also caused its collapse. But it's very interesting that there were even points that kings thought that to restart this whole thing, because it's not going well, we need to actually give back the debt. Nice. So basically what should have happened in 2008 just to save the economic crisis?
Yes, not so much for the banks, but for the people,
for everybody else.
That we're running out of mortgages.
You're
channeling Graeber now.
A little bit, maybe.
A little bit.
David Graeber. This is what This is what already happened in 1660.
And that's why it's semi-capitalist, because they were actually forgiving about that.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So that's a fascinating part of it, in terms of the actual past that we're looking at.
Yeah.
So experimentation of all sorts of things, sort of things that look like we are dealing with today. And then in terms of imperial expansion, and in terms of playing with this, what are things that, given these things about this particular past, what are things that you would like to experience in a game?
So
things particularly?
Yeah, so the economy, for me, this is very interesting, how the economy functions, how the cities function. It was a very complicated game. Even back then, it would be a very complicated game, so to speak, to manage all these things, because you manage them. Yeah, not even with pen and paper, right?
No, exactly.
Clay and clay and the stick.
Clay and the stick, yes.
And so this by itself is very interesting. And another thing that I find very interesting is land management, and how each city was attributed its own land, border conflicts, and how all these things played out. Because, and this is when we talk about Hammurabi, we think about the stele of Hammurabi, which we can show.
Right over now.
Yeah.
Let me actually just get down there.
There. This is the stele of Hammurabi. It's currently located in the Louvre, if you want to go and see it. And it's very famous as being a code of laws.
Right. So on this stele, right, you can see there's
There's cuneiform inscription and a cuneiform inscription.
Up there is actually Hamurabi. This is the dude, right?
Yeah, it's Hamurabi.
I think you actually have a close up of this as well, right?
Yes.
I think further
I think
down.
so.
Yeah, there we go.
Being given. So this is Hamurabi.
Oh, this is Hamurabi.
Yeah.
I thought I thought it was the dude being seated.
On the right, it's a god who gives Hamurabi the divine right to do what he's doing. The divine right to the law, to justice.
Basically to say, I am the law.
Yes, basically to say, I am the law. Now, there is something that's very fascinating about this stele. It makes us think of Hammurabi as this, on one hand, this very strong person, this key player, because he was the one who built this old Babylonian empire, right? And then he was also like this brilliant man who developed this new code of laws. In reality, that's not the case.
Okay.
So this, yes, it does talk about laws, but it doesn't seem to be actually laws that should be applied, because they are all phrased as what the king would be doing.
Wait. They're not laws that should be applied?
Yeah, it's not. It's a lot of these things were already in their legal systems.
Yes.
And in this stele, it's phrased to showcase the importance of the king.
Where does it say that? No, just kidding.
We need an Assyriologist for this.
We need an Assyriologist.
I would not be able to do this.
Sure. But this is basically the actual text, the cuneiform text, right?
Yes, this is
that is for text. Us is not something we can read, but it's all there. Basically, this tells us the rights of the duties of the king.
So it's sort of like saying, by the command of the king, if somebody steals, then this is what should happen to him.
Okay.
Right? But it's focused much more on glorifying the king as the bringer of justice, rather than focusing on what should actually happen in case of when somebody steals.
Basically, it's like the king will just say what to do, and probably he will say something about this in this particular thing.
So all these things are happening, and Hammurabi is doing all these things about it.
It's not necessarily a code of laws, but it's more like
it's a
trust this guy.
Yeah, it's for the glorification of the king, which has worked very well, because even we today think of Hammurabi as this brilliant
bringer of law.
Yeah. And I mean,
maybe he was, but we don't know.
Maybe he was in a way, but really, what Hammurabi did is that he was smart enough to, when basically the enemy king died, to take the existing system of control, but recenter it to Babylonia. So he didn't necessarily develop a new system; he just improved the existing system,
which is
of
also
administration.
It makes sense, right?
Because
it is exactly like that. Laws don't sort of like happen because one dude or that decides they happen. And like not at this scale. It's something that is in fact becomes codified. And of course, putting it down on a frigging stone does codify it a little bit.
So before we get into the game for good, just to
for about 10 minutes.
For about 10 minutes, basically the city of Larsa at that point was the key player.
Okay.
The ruler of Larsa, Rim-Sin, was the one who had managed to unify this entire area, particularly the city of Isin.
The oldest video game, Garrett asks. Garrett is here, by the way.
Garrett is here.
Oops, no.
Don't mute us.
Don't mute us. Well, maybe by now we should be muting ourselves. Yay! All right.
Yeah, it is not necessarily it's the oldest historical video game. It's not the oldest video.
I said the oldest. I saw the oldest video game on via the announcement that people get in their email.
On Twitter I said
clickbait.
The oldest historical game.
It is definitely one of the oldest video games.
It is also, yeah.
It's close to being one.
So
about 10 years.
So what Hammurabi did is that he waited for Rim-Sin to be very old.
Okay.
And the moment when he was very old, he actually set an attack for Isin and then further down for Larsa.
Okay.
And he took over the system that Rim-Sin had established.
That's nice. So not only did he take away his land, he also took away his system.
Yes, exactly.
It's like any academic would be like, "What? You plagiarized my laws?"
Yeah.
Not very cool, man.
Not very cool.
I just wanted to point out for later on, this is also a name that will pop-up, Lagash. But we can talk about that.
We can talk about that later.
Now let's actually get down to business.
Yes.
All right. So before you, it's kind of hard for us to show without destroying the entire setup, is a Commodore 64. But it is actually
the joystick of the Commodore 64.
Not a Commodore 64 in terms of an old genuine one. This is an emulator from Retro Games Incorporated, I think it's called, or Limited. Retro Games Limited.
Yeah.
And it behaves very much like the real deal.
Yeah.
But it's just a little bit easier to interface it with, for example, your HDMI screens.
Yes, which is very, very useful in this case.
In this case. So, it's there. And you're looking at this thing like, what the hell is this? So, it is a keyboard. Within it, there's a computer.
Nice.
So you kind of know the deal here. It's like a laptop. In fact, this thing is a microcomputer.
Okay.
It is not even a mini computer. This is a microcomputer. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that a little bit later as well.
All right.
So what I'll help you with is, if you want to stop a program running, you just press stop over here.
That makes a lot of sense.
And we were just doing a very nice line of code that we won't have time to talk about.
Yeah.
And now what you want to do is you want to load.
I want to load.
Yeah.
Back.
Yes, back. And then space. Yes. And then
no.
Load is. That's very. This goes well. All right. And then you want to open
the port.
Yes.
So it should be here.
Yes. Okay. And then you say Hamurabi.
What?
It's all in caps.
Look.
It's all in caps. Hamurabi.
Which I have to point out that this is spelled wrongly. Hamurabi, we spell it with 2 M.
Yes. And we'll get to the reason for that later. And then comma 8. Yes.
Return.
I think actually comma. I don't think actually it doesn't matter very much spaces. But anyway, return.
Return.
Searching for Hamurabi. Loading and ready.
Found it.
All right. Now you type run. And then if I've done my work correctly, because I was the one that coded this entire game on this thing.
Yes.
From the example in the 101 Basic Games book. If I've done my work correctly, and it may actually be the case that I didn't, then this thing will run. Woo! Well, this part of it at least worked out.
It works.
So, alright.
Let's read.
Yes, I was like, now we're playing a game, but...
No.
We're playing a game, but this game involves a lot of frigging text.
So, give me a little bit of context as to when this game was developed, for what...
Well, we're going to get to that a little bit later, but this is, as you clearly can see, even though the Commodore 64 that we're playing on was very capable of doing all sorts of graphics for games, or other things, this is from the era of computer gaming that a lot, if not all of them, well, basically they were literally computer games, not video games.
Okay.
Because they were not games that were graphically, they were just text.
Yeah.
And it was really a matter of you interacting through text with the computer. And when this was first developed, this was even text, as we will see, that was spewed out from a printer.
Yeah.
Rather than being actually depicted on a screen.
All right.
But in our case, we're looking at a very advanced version. By the time that the Commodore 64 came out, this game was already 20 years old. But this is at least the version that we get to play in a way that is very sort of close towards what it would have been in the way that most people would have experienced it.
Yes.
So it actually tells you all you need to know. Well, actually it doesn't, but that's another matter. Try your hand at governing Sumeria for a 10-year term of office.
Yes. Nice.
And then Hamurabi, I beg to report to you, in year 1, 0 people starved, always good. 5 came to the city. The population is now 100. The city now owns 1,000 acres. You harvested 3 bushels per acre. The rats ate 200 bushels.
Rats.
You now have 2,800 bushels in store. Land is trading at 22 bushels per acre. How many acres do you wish to buy? So you get to actually, if you've played this game a long time ago.
I have played.
So you know that you can buy and sell acres.
Yes.
For bushels. Bushels be basically food.
Yeah.
They mean bushels of grain.
Yeah.
And that's the question now. So do you want to buy? Or do you want to not buy and maybe sell? Or do you also not want to sell?
So
you can play this game.
That's me. That's on me now.
This is on you. You are now. And this is interesting, by the way.
This is not going anywhere.
I wonder actually if you are, if you're playing as Hamurabi, as some people think you are, but other people actually have said that it is Hamurabi who is reporting to you, because it should be like Hamurabi.
So Hamurabi says, I beg to report to you.
And this is something that is unclear. It was even unclear for the people that originally sort of developed this game. Some of them said you play as Hamurabi, but
wow.
So there are so many things about this game that are just so simple in terms of what it looks like and how it functions as a piece of software, but that are so complex in terms of game history and actual history and conceptualization of game history and actual history. It's just all over the place.
Yeah.
So we don't even know who we are, really, I would say. But you get to say, are you Hamurabi or are you a person that Hamurabi is reporting to?
Hammurabi would not report to anybody, so...
No, exactly. That's the interesting thing. So it would not be reported to anybody. But some people say that Hammurabi is the steward. And other people say that actually the person that says, I beg to report to you, is the steward. An unnamed character called the steward.
That's what I would think. Anyway, so I would say...
Where is Mesopotamia? Was it New Jersey? Yes, actually there is a Mesopotamia and New Jersey.
Mesopotamia and New Jersey.
Yes.
Mesopotamia is of course
we all know that in New Jersey, that's where they created the law of the land that is now followed across the world.
Nice.
All right.
So, we don't really know if 22 bushels per acre is a lot.
I know.
Or a little.
I know because as I already said.
Well, you know because you've coded this. So.
Even coding. I mean, I didn't make this
about the experience now.
Exactly. So that's why it's good that I don't play this because I kind of know. Exactly. I know how to game the system.
Exactly. So, but I don't, and for me, this is very unclear. What I would do here
in terms of we're now talking about the dynamics of the game.
Yeah. So
hugely unclear.
Unclear. What I would think. Sorry, we have 3 screens, and it's very weird for me to know where I should be.
You can actually. Over here, if you look at that, if you start typing later, it will make you a bit mad because
it will take a while to show up there. So I'll just be doing it.
Focusing on that one.
So we have 1,000 acres.
I like it, acres. Nice. That's very close to the Dutch akkers.
Yes. Sure. And we harvested 3 per acre, more or less, or exactly. So
there's no more or less in this game.
No. 3 per acre.
Yeah, per acre, I guess. Is it acre or akker? I like akker too.
I'm not exactly sure. What's it saying?
Give 10 acres to each citizen and buy some for your mayor or something. Exactly. Just give it away.
Let's give it away.
Give it away now.
Considering that each one produces 3, at least that year it produced 3. This seems to be on the very expensive side. That would be my...
I like that. So, you actually know a bit more. There's a 10-year term of office.
Yeah.
So, given that every single one brings you 3, then it would have to do that for the entirety of the 10...
In 7 years. So, if I buy now, they would have to return my investment in 7 years.
Man, this is why I like playing games with you, because, you have this absolutely, anti-capitalist... ideologies but you can sort of get into the framework of a game like that so quickly, because I was like, well, who knows when I first played this game, and you're like, let me game this out for you, let me actually, because what you're doing now, you're actually trying to get through the dynamics at some of the mechanics, of course.
Exactly.
Yes, very cool.
Also, how do you fight the system if you don't know the system? So
all right. Cool. Very cool. Well, you code the system, my friend.
Yeah.
you become Hamurabi. Or a computer programmer. All right.
So I would say this is very expensive, but maybe I will just try to buy just to see what's gonna happen in the next year and if I can get a lower price. So I'm gonna be conservative here.
All right.
Right. So we own 1,000. I'm just gonna buy, say, 50.
50 is that's conservative. Okay.
Then we'll go for 100.
Okay, sure.
Return. How many do you wish to feed your people? Oh, we don't know.
They also kind of need to eat.
Yeah, but we don't know how much a person eats, right?
Well, I mean, how much does a person really eat?
if we don't know like what is a bushel in this case, we have no idea.
A bushel is about I actually have that right over here, so I don't need to be wiki crutch too often. So a bushel is, interestingly enough, it is actually imperial measurement.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually came about in England at least after the Norman conquest. So whatever, these people would not have been weighing in bushels, that's for sure.
All right.
And actually, I think if I remember correctly, then the bushel is, actually I'm going to look this up right now. Bushel to liters.
I guess so.
So 1 US bushel is 35 liters.
35 liters of grain.
Conservative capitalist exchange, yes, for sure.
Let's say we have 2,800 and we have 100 people.
No, you don't have 2,800 anymore because you bought 100 acres for 22.
Oh, yeah.
So you have 600 in storage at the moment.
Yeah. So how many with your people in total? I would say 200.
Well, go ahead.
But that's the thing. I don't know. I have no idea. So
go ahead.
My first year is trial and error. I have to a specific way to distribute ratios in the ancient Near East, particularly in Sumeria. Yeah. Ratios in ancient.
Hold that thought. We're going to talk about how many people actually are eating in this game when we look at the code. So, all right.
Return. How many acres do you wish to plant with seed? So now we have 1,100.
Yes. So how many of them do you want to, actually grow some new food on?
I guess all of them.
All right.
That makes sense, right? That's why we bought the extra ones. Thing again, you have only 400 bushels of grain. Now then, how many? Oh, because I need one. So I can only do 400. Is that, is that what it
I'm
implies?
The king. I can do what I want.
I can do what I want. So I guess it implies that with one I can.
So I guess the whole loop here is that you have this resource that you have to both buy new stuff from.
Yeah.
You have to feed your people from.
Yeah.
So upkeep it basically. It's like mana, man. Think of it as mana.
Yeah. No, I get what it is, but what I don't understand is why 400 are not enough to plant 1,100 fields. That's my question. So I guess it's 400. Hey, everybody died! Everybody died.
So you managed, I'm going to say, well done, because there's actually 10 people still living in your city.
That is great.
You starved 90 people in 1 year. This game is very liberal with its exclamation marks when you F up, by the way.
Yeah, but not when you win.
No. Due to this extreme mismanagement, you have not only been impeached and thrown out of office, but you're also declared national think. Which I think is absolutely super interesting statement.
It is, yes.
Because, first of all, nations, that's a 19th century thing.
Yeah.
But whatever. Think is also a 20th century thing in being like a rat, a snitch for the police. So somehow
nobody would use the term thing nowadays.
Nobody would do it nowadays, or also back in the past.
Yeah.
Very weird early 20th century word.
Yeah.
And then also, as Hamurabi, you've been impeached and thrown out of office.
Yes.
Is this something that could have happened to a king?
They would kill you.
Exactly. Yes.
You would be dead.
You would be dead.
Maybe you would be imprisoned because somebody else conquered your city, but you would probably die.
So impeachment.
I don't think there would be any.
I think it's I think impeachment is a very good thing for mismanagement.
Yeah.
I think it should
happen right now.
It should happen. People should follow through with that.
Yes.
Just set it up and then. But that's another thing. This was not something that would have happened. I mean, some people would even probably argue that actually killing leaders that do stuff wrong is also something that would be preferable to some other current situations. But we would not be that people, because then the CIA, you're not watching, would be invading our stream and say, these people are plotting against whatever.
No. But I have to say,
killing is always wrong, as.
Okay. I have to say that while, of course, the concept of impeachment is not relevant at all in this case, it kind of...
A guy also says, I still impeachment meant stuff back then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
it illustrates an interesting point that I don't think they knew, but would be relevant. That maybe one king would have the upper hand over the others, but in reality, most rulers of each city were sort of equal. So they themselves could come together, and depending on where you were from, and the history of that city,
kick you out of office into a prison.
Sort of, yeah. To say you're not doing your job properly, you're not managing your city, and as a result, we have a problem. Because they would have, because they created these weird institutions that had to be fed. So they had scribes, they would have traders,
It's like academics.
Yes, yeah. People. Exactly. And all these people, they were not producing food. They had to be fed, right? So if a yield was not going well, then the people working would not have food.
Right.
And so if you were not managing your land properly, that means another city, which did not have enough land but was providing services, would not be able to sustain itself.
Right.
So there was this system of interdependency between cities at that period.
But what we're seeing here in this game is, of course, an intra-dependency.
Here it's
people depend on you to survive, and somehow the last 10 people that lived in your city are like, get this guy out of there.
Get this guy out of there. I would get me out of there.
I would also, if I killed 90 people over 1 year,
you would see yourself to the end.
I would see, exactly.
I know, I'm going.
Yes.
All right.
That's why I get to be university teacher.
Yes.
I promise to never kill 90 of my students in 1 year.
That's a good promise.
That's a good promise.
I hope you follow through.
I will. Believe me. And otherwise, you can impeach me.
All right. So I return now.
You actually don't return. You just run again. You type run.
Oh, I type run again.
Yes, and then you return. There we are.
All right.
Back. That's the nice thing about games.
Whoa! Now it costs 24. I'm not buying anything.
But you could sell. So you're not buying anything.
0, and then it gives me, I could sell. And considering, and I sell at the same price.
There'll be some sharply worded clay tablets written. There'll be some sharply worded clay tablets written about your brief reign. Yes,
yeah,
sure.
Probably.
The only problem would be that, like a reign of 1 year, archaeologists would never find anything.
It would be on the king's list.
Would be. Okay, we have this very and then there was this dude that reigned for 1 year.
For the Assyrian king lists, much later that are more detailed, we actually see kings the king changing within 1 year 3 times. It's like having elections. So some kings did not make it. They were
exactly.
Now I'm in power. Now I'm dead. So not impeached.
Not impeached. Not impeached. Just dead.
So now this is very weird because we sell at the same price that we buy. I thought that we would sell cheaper. But
okay, why would you think that?
Because that's how games have developed, have trained me. That exactly. you never sell on the price you buy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But here it seems like we're selling on the same price.
Yeah, it seems so.
So I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna sell 200 of my things.
Okay.
How many bushels do you wish to feed your people? So last time we fed them 400.
You starved 90.
I starved 90, so that is not a lot.
So you fed 10.
I fed basically...
No, actually you fed them not 400, you fed them 200. Well, now we can't go back in the law because that's...
No, but I gave them 400, I think, right?
No, you planted 400.
Oh, I planted 400. So 200, so 2 bushels per person is not enough.
No.
Clearly.
No, not 2 bushels. 20 bushels per person. 2 bushels per person is not enough. Yes.
No, but this is what I did. I did. So
you fed 10 people with that.
Yeah.
So I fed 200 divided by 10.
Yeah. So then I need to feed them. I'm just gonna feed them 2,000.
Sounds reasonable. Yes.
And then I need to plant. I have 800. I'm gonna plant 800. In this case. There we go.
You made it to year 2.
Hey,
0 people starved.
Boom! Everybody's alive.
Everybody's happy.
There's
even 3 people that come to your city.
Yeah, because the year before nobody came to the city because they're like, this guy just killed 90.
Exactly.
Don't go there.
Don't go there. So the population is now 103.
Yes.
So one thing that I think is just eminently weird with this game, we can talk about this a little bit later.
I have 9,200 in store.
You have a lot in store, that's for sure. But also what I think is weird is that you have a city of 103 people.
Yeah, that is no city.
That is no city.
That is not
Unless you only count like the elites, and they're like, oh yes, the elites. But no, 103 people is no city.
No,
it is not as well. You know, it's almost a city in some places in the Netherlands that have still like city rights from like when they were important places in the Middle Ages.
You would expect a city of that period, and of well, it didn't say in which city we're playing, did it?
No, it doesn't say.
So we don't know. Babylon at that point, or another city like Uruk, or Larsa would fit anywhere between 10 to 25,000 people.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
A lot more than 103, which is what you have. So
no, that's okay.
Actually, so you actually have 9,200 bushels in store.
That is crazy.
And land is actually trading
very
low now, man.
Very low.
This is a buyer's moment.
Yeah. So
this is what you need to do.
So I'm gonna buy a lot.
Right.
I have 9. So I definitely need to spend more than 2,000 because now I have 103. So let's say I need to spend about 2,000. I'll just spend 2,200 for good measure. 2,200. So I have 7,000. 7,000. So if I buy at 18, by 100, I can buy like 300 and still be in there. I think if I calculated this correctly, I wish to feed them 2,200. Yes. And how many of these do we want to seed? And we have 800. We have 1,100 now, and I think we can plant them all. How many acres do you wish?
You only have 103 people to tend the fields. How are you going to do that with only 1,100 people? With only 103 people, 1,100 acres.
So then we're just doing the 100.
100 or how much?
Wait. What? I do 11. I do all my fields, 1,100.
I think you can do a bit more than 100, yeah.
I meant 1,000.
Oh, okay.
Which should work.
There we go.
There we go.
You made it to the third year even.
Yeah,
so the population is...
That's pretty 106.
We came to your city even.
Yeah, but it seems like we had a drought.
No, there's not a drought. There is, in fact, rats eating your...
No, that's not that's the problem. I harvested
one bushel per acre. 1 bushel per acre. Oh, very good. I like how you're meta thinking here. Like something must have happened. A drought. Yeah. That's something that would have been likely to happen.
That's something that would be likely to happen, and it actually that area is generally known for having severe droughts when it has droughts.
Okay.
And we would definitely have prolonged periods of droughts. Even for example, the fall of the Middle Assyrian Empire. Or the recession, rather, of the Middle Assyrian Empire.
The recession? I like it.
Yeah. It's
the Great Recession.
The Great Recession is attributed to 7 years of drought during the reign of King Tukulti-Ninurta.
7 years of 1 bushel per acre.
Yeah.
There's no way that any king would have survived that, at least in this game system for sure. So one thing that I wanted to briefly ask you as well. Buying acres.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to this complex, you said it was semi-capitalist.
Yeah.
Is that something that they would have been able to actually do, like buy acres?
Yeah, I would like to read you.
Okay, so he comes prepared.
I come prepared.
All right, very good. Read to me.
Yes. So I will read a short paragraph of text and then an actual ancient text, right?
Okay, a couple of paragraphs. You can see he's an academic. He's like,
I'm
going to read you a couple of paragraphs of text.
So, even though we don't know too much about Babylon, it says here our information derives primarily from other cities where royal agents represented Babylon's interests. In Larsa, for instance, so another city, these men were Sin Idinam and Shamash Hazir, and some 200 letters the king wrote to them are preserved. These involve themselves with matters of seemingly little importance, but it's not in this case. For example, one letter says, to Shamash Hazir, say, "Thus speaks Hamurabi. From the fields that belong to the palace, give one of 1 hectare near the gate of Larsa, a fallow field that is of good quality and lies near the water, to Sin Imgurani, the seal cutter." So
the seal cutter. He was like somebody that carved seals.
Yeah, exactly.
Seals to them.
So we see that this
not like seals as the critters from up north.
No.
Okay.
But we see that Hammurabi, for example, had the ability to provide land to his subject, or vice versa. If he wanted, he could take land back for the city
but not
itself.
Buying it.
It's not exactly buying, but in this case, for example, it's sort of rewarding. So he gives, because this Sin Imgurani provided some kind of services, he is paid in land.
So land ownership is definitely a thing.
Absolutely.
Which is not, we think of that as super very normal now, but
yes,
there's huge parts of the globe that until basically people that knew about land ownership, but that had land ownership practices came in. There was no land ownership.
Yeah.
But they definitely knew about land ownership and transferal of that. But maybe not in terms of, you say of course, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because we played Aztec last week.
We did,
and it's kind of, I wonder if there's such a thing as land ownership in the Aztec, like such a thing that is so very particularly expressed as it is in this particular letter.
Yeah.
So cool. But maybe buying and selling of it is maybe...
Actually, we have a lot of texts from that period that talk about selling and buying. And just to hammer the point of semi-capitalist society
to
Hammurabi the point. Another city of that period, the city of Ashur, which is located in northern Mesopotamia, was sort of a city of traders. Literally, it didn't have almost any agricultural land. They relied exclusively on trade. We know from textual evidence that there were scattered around Anatolia, so Turkey and northern Syria, about 2,500 Assyrian traders doing trade.
Okay.
And there was a system of 10 trade ports. They're called karums. So there were 10 karum, and the Assyrian merchants would reside there, and they would make sure to do the trade via Ashur. And in their letters, we read that, for example, somebody wants to sell textiles from the south. So the south would produce textiles. The Assyrians would get them, and they would want to sell them for a specific amount of silver. So one letter says, "Oh, my friend, somebody from Ashur, you gave me so much textiles to sell. But actually, textiles now sell for very little silver. So I'm not going to sell them for you because you're not going to make any profit, and I'm going to wait. And if the price of silver does not go up, then I'm going to get something else for them."
Yeah, exactly. It's what is it called? Demand and...
supply and demand.
Supply and demand.
It's supply and demand.
Supply and demand, yeah.
So that was very prominent. We see it in a whole lot of correspondence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Back to
so
actually...
we have a drought.
The practice that actually could have taken place maybe in...
How many acres do you wish to buy? None.
All right.
Clearly. I am gonna sell because they sell still relatively high, which is
at
nice.
Least higher than you bought them for.
Higher than I bought them for, and I need the money as well.
Yeah,
I definitely need the money. So
not money.
The bushels. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely no. Sorry needed, because that's of course our mind is all of a sudden money
to think of
resources.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I managed to fit the 100 with blah blah blah.
You managed to feed the 103 with 20 to 100.
No, I definitely need 20. So if I sell 100 now, I get to 2200, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna actually sell a bit more because I need some reserve.
Alright.
And then I need to feed them...
so you got 106 people now.
So I need to feed them... Last time I fed them 1,100.
No.
2,000.
Yes.
Sorry, I get... Sorry.
Yeah, I'll help you here.
There. I'm gonna stick to 2,100. And I need to plant. Now I have less plant. I have 900. So I am going to spend 900 to plant it. That makes sense, right? Because for the...
Yeah, I think this makes sense.
think so, right?
Yeah. I think the game will definitely allow you to do this. Let's put it like that.
I beg to report you in year 4, 1 person starved, 12 came to the city, a horrible plague struck.
Whoa!
How the people died, that's not my fault.
No, this is not... No, you're not impeached, are you?
I'm not impeached, I keep playing.
Wow. Population is now 58.
Jesus. My people, it pains me.
It does.
It pains me.
Yes, for sure.
What's happening in the chat?
Oh, nothing much is happening. They're all just glued to their screens, and they're like,
I can imagine.
What's happening to this poor city?
Yeah.